Welcome back to HorrorScoped, where we're clearly no strangers to the topic of mad scientists or evil corporations. Today, we'll be taking a look at Poppy Playtime's Playtime Co., and why we think the company's web of terror spreads further than just the company grounds. What awaits us in Chapter 3, and what kind of clues can be found that hint at what is yet to come? Well, let's talk about that. You know, Playtime Co. may be out to get us, but the folks over at Boosteroid are a lot nicer and decided to support us by sponsoring this video. Boosteroid lets you play your favorite games through the cloud on any of your devices without having to have a powerful machine yourself. You don't need to upgrade your hardware, install games, or even wait for long updates. You just pick up your device, connect, and play with their cloud gaming service. They now cover more than just the UK and Europe with their new US-based servers. And with over 400 different games to play, it's a pretty sweet bundle. So if you want to start playing right now, click my link in the description below to check out Boosteroid today. Now, let's talk about some hints regarding Poppy Playtime Chapter 3. Playtime Co., the corporation behind all the horrible events in Poppy Playtime, is a bit of a trope in the horror genre. The evil company that does bad things and causes countless people to suffer. Playtime Co. stands with its peers in horror gaming. Companies such as Joey Drew Studios or Umbrella Corporation come to mind. But what if I were to tell you that the similarity didn't end on the surface? Umbrella, from Resident Evil for example, was known to have many subsidiaries and accomplices associated with it. The Paraguas Line Company, for example, comes to mind. I mean, what possible connection could a cruise line have with a pharmaceutical corporation developing bioweapons, right? From what we've seen in Chapter 2 of Poppy Playtime, Playtime Co. too seems to have a few accomplices in the horrible secret dealings that they've been keeping under wraps. Let's take a look, shall we? The first clue we encounter comes in the form of a letter from Eddie N.M. Ritterman, addressed to a group named the Warrenbach Construction Company. The letter is addressing the absolute need for secrecy with regard to the construction of the lab beneath the factory. Eddie ensures that the crew will be compensated handsomely for both working efficiently and secretively on the project, citing a ballpark of $100,000 as a bonus. He even goes as far as to say that Playtime Co. is willing to negotiate to come up with a sum that both parties can be happy with. Eddie stresses that the only ones who can have knowledge of the project's specifics are those with authority at both of their respective organizations. The second clue we find comes from an area in the chapter that the player can actually access without breaking the game a bit. Just before Mommy Longlegs begins chasing us through the complex, we're able to catch a glimpse of an off-limits laboratory sitting in the darkness, just out of our reach. With a little trickery, we're able to get ourselves into this room, brighten it up, and have a look around. Clearly, this was a site of at least some of the experimentation being performed at the company, as we can see bloodstains on tables and high-tech tools and lab equipment spread about. The lab equipment is what is really interesting here because the company logo is stamped upon it. This logo says Beechtec, and this logo appears multiple times throughout this room. Now, of course, Beechtec could simply be a manufacturer of medical equipment, completely innocent and benign. Yeah, sure. But more than likely, this is not the case. Throughout the entire factory, logos of other companies aren't really present often. If the game developers are going out of their way to make up a brand for the equipment used in the experimentation room, it's definitely going to be important. Otherwise, all the other machinery we've encountered along the way would have all had company logos as well. So it isn't too far of a stretch to assume that Beechtec, the logo of this company that is out of bounds from normal gameplay, will play a role in Chapter 3. Another reason for this hunch is that the developers went out of their way to close this room off, as it's possible this wasn't always the case. Perhaps these Chapter 2 elements were pushed back for Chapter 3. If we check the leaked beta version of this map, we can see that none of the other toys present in the normal version are there. However, all the Beechtec gear is still present. We know it's all medical gear too, obviously because it looks like it, but also because the labels on the back of the devices specifically say it's medical. But this makes me wonder about our character. Mommy Longlegs mentioned that we used to work here, but we still don't know who we are. Many players have theorized that perhaps we are one of the executives, and hence the scrambled name on the ground outside the slides is our name. And the reason it isn't revealed yet is because our identity is still supposed to be a secret. But the thing about companies is that usually the workers can recognize the higher-ups. Whether at company meetings, or even on their own internal intranet, employees usually grow to know the faces of executives. So shouldn't Mommy Longlegs have recognized us if she was an employee? I guess it's been a long time, but it makes you wonder if we aren't from Playtime Co. itself. Could the player have had a hand in experimentation? Could they be from Beechtec? Mommy Longlegs, back when she was a human, could have simply seen the player several times in the building and assumed they were an employee when in reality they could have been a contractor. There's no way to tell unless you actually talk to that person in passing, especially at large-scale companies like Playtime Co. Regardless of that, Beechtec certainly reeks of being paid to look the other way, much like the executives at Warrenbach Construction. If they had any morals, they probably wouldn't have set their gear in a place that's doing such horrible things. Or maybe they didn't know. But the real question is, just how far does this Playtime Co. web stretch? Between effectively running their own orphanage and paying other companies to keep their lips sealed, Playtime Co. must have really been playing things carefully to have made it this far. The fact that the rundown, abandoned factory hadn't been investigated at all solidifies that notion. If nothing else, Playtime Co.'s legal team must have been bulletproof to keep everything so well hidden. So what role do you think Beechtec will play in Chapter 3? Is our character an executive, a Beechtec lab assistant, a Warrenbach Construction employee, or someone else entirely? Let me know your predictions in the comments below. Subscribe now for more videos, and I'll see you all soon on HorrorScoped. Cheers!